Coming up in today's show.
More Jamaicans are now able to approach the court, and whether funds are there or not, whether unemployed or not, they now can approach the court being represented by counsel.
Attorneys who can be accessed through the Legal Aid Council. Plus,
like all penal institutions, the DCS is designated as high risk for outbreaks of infectious diseases.
And so we look at measures taken to protect staff and inmates at correctional facilities from COVID-19. So glad you could join us for another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson. There's more, so stay with us.
The role of the DRF in violence prevention in our society is to mediate. We believe that mediation is really a very good thing in terms of resolving disputes at the court level, at the parish court level, and at the Supreme Court level. Now, let me tell you about some of the matters that may come at the parish court level. You and I live in a tenement yard and a fight. We report the matter to the police, it goes to court. The judge may say, well, you know, you are just probably a teenager. Go to mediation and see if you can get a settlement. Because if you can agree, then you won't have a criminal record. We urge everyone, all our offices, come to our offices, no matter how simple the matter may be. Come to us, we have persons who are trained.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Thursday, April 22. Jamaica has recorded its lowest COVID-19 positivity rate in 8 weeks. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton says the country's positivity rate has fallen from a high of 42% to the reported 15.7% that is indicated in the April 21 figures. He says the data indicates that the reproductive rate of the coronavirus in Jamaica is trending down.
Based on our epidemiological assessment, there is some movement in the right direction as it relates to the degree of spread, hospitalization, and those who have been worst affected from this pandemic, this virus. Our reproductive rate over the last 4 weeks, Madam Speaker, have moved from 1.3% to 0.9, I should say, from 1.3 to 0.9. This really means that we are moving in a direction where the spread of the virus is decreasing or declining.
The minister stressed, however, that a more manageable capacity would be a reproductive rate of 0.7. The country recorded 83 new COVID-19 cases in the 24-hour period prior to yesterday and 6 new deaths. Government will be implementing a $350,000 program to begin local genomic testing for the different COVID-19 strains to ensure there is faster access to scientific data to guide measures for protecting the population. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the announcement during a statement to Parliament on Wednesday. He pointed out that Jamaica continued to send samples for genome sequencing to CARFA, but stressed that the results could be lengthy, hence this move to build capacity within the country. The program to initiate local genomic testing is slated to be completed within the next 3 to 4 months.
I wish to acknowledge at this point the kind support of the Centers for Disease Control, Madam Speaker, and the government of the United States for their support for the financing of equipment for the National Public Health Lab to do testing. Additional technical support is being provided in the capacity development of local staff in conducting similar testing and the analysis of results of decision making.
So far, the UK strain of the virus has been identified in Jamaica, but Dr. Tufton says there's no evidence that it has become the most dominant strain in the population. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has received a shipment of laboratory supplies from the government of the Republic of Korea to support the COVID-19 response in Jamaica. The donation includes PCR kits for 20,000 tests and viral nucleic acid extraction kits for 20,000 tests. The items, which have a combined value of $200,000, were delivered to the National Public Health Lab on Tuesday. This is the third such donation received from the government of Korea in recent times to aid Jamaica's COVID-19 response efforts. In other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has welcomed global talks on climate change, stating that the need for meaningful action has never been greater. Mr. Holness was participating in day one of the Virtual Leaders Summit on Climate, being hosted by United States President Joe Biden. The Prime Minister said Jamaica had enhanced its contribution to achieving a target of 60% reduction in emission by 2030. But he stressed that while increasing the level of financial support was critical, it would not be sufficient to address the needs of small island developing states unless it was accessible and flexible enough to target support for their vulnerabilities. As such, he outlined steps that could be taken to address hurdles.
We need to take specific actions to include 1, the establishment of a global disaster fund to help SIDS recover and manage disaster risk. 2, the development of innovative risk-informed financing for disasters and climate events. 3, the inclusion of vulnerability measures as the prime consideration in determining access for financing rather than only income criteria. And 4, the scaling up of debt for climate adaptation swaps to simultaneously address climate crises and the systemic debt issues affecting already burdened developing countries.
Prior to Prime Minister Holness's presentation, the U.S. President gave a commitment to double financing to developing countries by 2024. The current annual contribution is $100 billion. Cabinet has given approval to draft amendments to strengthen the Domestic Violence Act. Gender Minister Olivia Grange says the amendments will include expanding the category of persons who can apply for protection orders on behalf of an abused person. The term domestic violence will also be amended to make it clear that it's not only physical, but also psychological, emotional, and sexual. Minister Grange, who made the announcement in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, used the occasion to condemn 2 viral videos of a man and woman being violated. She also urged men and women in violent relationships to reach out to the ministry for help.
We have the call lines for the men and we have lines for the women. Feel free to call us. We are here to help you. That is a commitment of this government, and we will do it.
Minister Grange also pointed out that one national shelter for victims of gender-based violence was already up and running, while 2 others were being renovated to accommodate more victims. A No Excuse for Abuse campaign was also launched and is awaiting the rollout of a new phase soon. And finally, relief supplies valued at over 20 million Jamaican dollars left the Kingston Wharf this morning for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Among the items are bottled water, canned foods, tents for emergency shelters and ground operations, as well as portable toilets. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been battling challenges caused by the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano on April 9, displacing thousands of residents. The coordinated shipment of supplies was the effort of several agencies, including the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management (ODPEM), and was led by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Portfolio Minister Desmond McKenzie thanked the Bahamas for partnering through the use of the Her Majesty's Bahamian ship, Lawrence Major.
Our friends in the Bahamas have demonstrated again what Caribbean unity is all about. This is not the first time that this vessel have worked with us here in Jamaica to provide relief supplies across the region. And today I am extremely honored and proud to be a part of this, as we have seen again what cooperation at the highest level can do in times of crisis.
Not so long ago, the Jamaican Defense Force and Jamaican government assisted the Bahamas in the passage of Hurricane Dorian. So we know exactly what it is to require and need assistance. We appreciate that so much, and hopefully we could continue to assist as best we can.
Minister McKenzie says financial donations are still being accepted from the public. Deposits can be made to account number 212-387-304 at the National Commercial Bank, Oxford Place. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
One of the things we
we've seen is that many businesses that were not compliant either with their up-to-date licenses have become so, including many bikes that were not up-to-date have paid for their carriage licenses, they've paid for their bike riding licenses. We're ensuring that they also have provided to us evidence of helmets. So some of the basic issues that plague the society all the time and the lack of structure in some industries is already being rectified. So we're very happy that they're now regularized and they're participating in the economy in a structured, functional manner. Our intention is to make sure that we develop what we call a culture of fulfillment. So you get people to embrace the internet, you get your small and micro businesses to embrace the bots. This, we believe, will make what N stands for continue for a very, very long time.
ENDS, e-commerce national delivery solution.
To safeguard staff, inmates and wards, the Department of Correctional Services has instituted several measures to minimize the impact of COVID-19 within its facilities. Let's see what these are.
Prior to COVID-19 reaching Jamaica in March 2020, the Ministry of National Security was putting measures in place to protect those in its care, a population of 3,700 within the penal system. The strategy was multi-layered, including measures to prevent or delay the virus from entering any of the 11 adult and juvenile correctional facilities and minimize the impact of any outbreak. So as early as January last year, the Department of Correctional Services, DCS, began sensitization sessions about the potential threat of the virus with key members of its medical team and representatives. In addition, a comprehensive contingency plan was prepared, internal education campaign for staff and inmates undertaken, hand sanitization and wash stations erected, and a COVID-19 task force established. Further to that, measures were taken to stop external visitors from entering the compound, and suitable areas for quarantine and isolation were identified. Minister with responsibility for the DCS, Matthew Samuda, says the wearing of masks and social distancing were enforced daily.
Staff and other persons accessing the correctional centers or any other offices were subjected to a temperature screen, and later a verbal questionnaire was added to this, as most persons were not febrile and the initial measure alone was not effective as a screening tool. A sanitation project was undertaken which involved the inclusion or the increase significantly in water storage facilities across our facilities. Despite these preventative efforts, DCS recorded positive cases of COVID-19 in 7 of its facilities, with the worst outbreaks occurring at the South Camp Adult and South Camp Juvenile Correctional Centers.
With this revelation came heightened safety measures from the Correctional Department's medical team.
They instituted a random swabbing system using a 1 in 3 method when cases are found. Samples were taken immediately from cell inmates. Other symptomatic inmates were also sampled randomly from dorm or block. The staff also maintained a good working relationship with parish health departments, who stepped up to assist with testing in facilities whenever there were positive cases, initially locking down potential spread. Staff and inmates were required to adhere to quarantine orders, and new admissions were segregated from the inmate population for 2 weeks and monitored daily for infection. Like all penal institutions, the DCS is designated as high risk for outbreaks of infectious diseases.
As at April 1, 2021, a total of 880 inmates and wards were tested for COVID-19. Of that number, 739 tested negative, while 141 were positive. At that same period, recoveries numbered 126, with 15 active cases. As for the staff population, 489 were tested for the virus, of which 325 results were negative and 164 positive. Staff recovery from COVID-19 were 149, with 11 being active cases. Unfortunately, the Department of Correctional Services suffered 5 deaths, 3 staff and 2 inmates. Minister Samuda commended the staff for working in a high-risk environment, as well as the medical team for their early detection of the virus and prompt removal of infected persons.
Despite the challenges to our day-to-day operations, they have stayed resolute, they have stuck to the recommendations of the WHO for those who are incarcerated, and they have performed admirably. We have used the basic science in this management, reduced interactions, whether by external visitors or inter-block exchanges. We have put in place the necessary sanitation mechanisms. We have also started the process and in some cases made the infrastructural changes to facilitate greater ventilation.
Inmates were also acknowledged for their involvement in the fight against COVID-19.
Inmates in the management of COVID-19 cases at Tower Street have also been notably successful in their approach. They have worked as medical orderlies, which have helped significantly in reducing spread. Additionally, we trained both staff members and well-behaving inmates to be able to supplement the efforts of our health staff.
Minister Samuda says the fight to contain the spread among staff and inmates was not without challenges. These include staff burnout, anxiety by staff and inmates during periods of outbreaks at facilities, and disruption to in-person rehabilitation activities and court hearings.
We've had to turn chapels into isolation spaces and quarantine spaces. We've had to turn classrooms into hospital spaces when we've needed to, which have affected how the prisons are operating. So the things we have had to do to prevent entry, prevent spread when we've had entry of the virus into our facilities, to provide the care required, are things that we know we had to do, are things that all of the recommendations from all of the globally recognized agencies said we were to do.
The Ministry of National Security says despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Correctional Services has mitigated the effects admirably. This relative success is due to foresight and planning of the leadership team. The ministry assures that lessons learned over the past year in dealing with the pandemic will be used to counter any future challenges that may arise.
Did you know that if you find yourself in trouble with the law or you're being accused of a matter contrary to the law, you have the right to legal representation? This service can be accessed for free through the Legal Aid Council. Take a look at some of the simple procedures to follow.
Yo. Alright, yo, I make a call.
Hello?
Yeah, Jen, auntie, just get a call from the station here. Them lock up Johnny.
Lord have mercy. So what them have him there for?
Some gun business in a taxi and them something.
I feel like out of trouble. Business not even going too right. Oh God.
No man, enough affordable money now. You can go to a legal aid council, them have a list of lawyer where let them provide it free.
Alright, my love.
Yeah man, just go down there and talk to somebody.
We will meet you there in a little while.
Johnny's case is one of some 3,000 for which the Legal Aid Council makes duty counsel representation each year. The Duty Counsel Service provides for free legal representation from a lawyer at the police station for persons arrested, detained or remanded. The assigned counsel will visit the person in need and provide help at the various stages: the lockup, identification parade, interrogation, and apply for station bail or bail by the court. Lockup visits and bail application are free of cost and require no application form. Everyone has the right to justice through the country's justice system, even if they cannot afford the cost for legal services. The Legal Aid Council has been ensuring this restricted access to justice, and lawyers assigned complete hundreds of some 1,500 court cases annually, benefiting hundreds of children and adults. Legal aid is the system that provides legal representation for Jamaicans who can ill afford to pay for this service whenever they come in conflict with the law, thus ensuring access to justice for all persons without financial barriers. The organization established to support these services is the Legal Aid Council. The Legal Aid Council, a statutory body within the Ministry of Justice, governs the legal aid system. For court representation, the Legal Aid Council or the court office completes an application form on behalf of the client and assigns a lawyer to represent the client until the end of the matter. All attorneys assigned court matters are private attorneys required to vigorously defend the right of the client, take full instructions from the client, advise the client, and ensure the best outcome on behalf of the client. Cases involving murder matters only require assigned attorneys to have 10 years' experience or more. Where a defendant requires DNA, handwriting, or other specialized expertise to advance their case, the Legal Aid Council will undertake the cost for a client unable to afford these professional services. While the Legal Aid Council provides full representation in court for clients with criminal matters, the Council only provides consultations on civil matters before determining whether the individual can afford legal representation. Thereafter, the Council provides an attorney to assist with a court matter. The duty counsel representation from the point of arrest to the first court appearance is free and it does not require the completion of an application form.
There are two main ways to access legal aid for criminal matters. One is the duty counsel stage. This is where a person has been taken into police custody and you're entitled to a lawyer. No application to fill out, no contribution fee to make from the moment you are taken into custody until your first court date. That is duty counsel. The officer has a duty to call duty counsel. Every station should have a list of the duty counsel available. If they don't, contact the legal aid counsel for an up-to-date list. If it's a family member that comes to the legal aid counsel or the clinics, if the person is in custody, not charged, no application form, no fees. The counselor or the clinic makes a call wherever the person is to an attorney who has his office near to that location and assigns the attorney. The attorney at the end of the matter sends in a claim to us. So the client makes no payment to the attorney.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the law firm of Stone and Brighton. How may I help you?
So the duty counsel is mandated to ensure that all the rights set out in the law for question and answer are observed for you as a citizen. All the rights and protection surrounding ID parades are maintained. Additionally, if the lawyer observes a child, any person under 18 being held at an adult lockup, that lawyer must make an application for the child to be removed to a juvenile facility. So that's the duty counsel stage. For the court aspects, if the judge observes that the person is without a lawyer, the judge will invite the clerk or assistant clerk to interview the person and grant legal aid. So the citizen is protected at every stage. At the duty counsel stage, some people would have been released after the ID parade, released after the question and answer. But for those who have been charged, you're entitled now to a lawyer to represent you during the trial. For that, there's an application form that the court would fill out or the legal aid counsel or a clinic would fill out. And you may be asked to make a contribution. But the person who is not able to make any contribution will be granted help.
COVID-19 has been known to cause serious damage to the lungs. It is another reason the National Council on Drug Abuse is urging persons who smoke or drink alcohol not to abuse these substances, as they too affect the lung and heart.
Generally across the world, it is accepted that persons with substance use disorders and people who are chronic users, problematic users of various substances, particularly smoking. So you're smoking cigarettes, you're smoking ganja, you're vaping, and then also alcohol use puts you at a unique risk for developing the complications that are associated with COVID.
The novel coronavirus that causes COVID-19 is notorious for attacking the human lungs. It's no wonder then that among the most vulnerable are people with compromised lung function or lung disease as a result of chronic smoking and alcohol abuse. The National Council on Drug Abuse is now more than ever urging Jamaicans to reduce and avoid excessive smoking and alcohol use. Though persons may feel the need to resort to substance abuse during the COVID-19 outbreak due to stress, worry, and fear, this can be a detrimental move. Rather than relieving stress and worry, substance abuse will weaken the immune system, damage the liver and lungs, and put persons at greater risk for suffering the worst symptoms associated with COVID-19 and other life-threatening illnesses. Additionally, the behavioral practice of smoking also poses added risks. If a person's hands are contaminated, then putting a cigarette, spliff, or vaping device at their mouth will cause them to easily become infected with COVID-19. To reduce drug abuse among chronic users, the National Council on Drug Abuse has proposed a few coping mechanisms. Contact your relatives, friends, and ex-addicts if you are struggling with chronic drug abuse. They may not be able to physically be there with you, but a call can give you the encouragement you need. Having a healthy immune system is important to survive this and any other virus. So ensure you eat well and engage in regular exercise to boost your immune system. Some parents are experiencing additional stress by having to supervise their children at home during this time. Structure can make you more productive and lessen chaos. It can also be beneficial to ask your children to help create the schedule. Make time for alone time. Ask other family members in the home to supervise the children while you do something for yourself. Use the time to better yourself, create new habits, focus on what you need to learn, grow, and give. Spend time pinpointing the things that are making you stressed and prone to abusing drugs. Try to address them one step at a time and find ways to distract yourself when these triggers appear. The National Council on Drug Abuse is now offering telecounseling throughout the island. For the Eastern Office, persons can call 876-926-9002 or 876-469-2521 for the Central Office and 876-940-2240 for the Western Office. Persons can also contact the General Helpline at 876-564-HELP. That's 876-564-4357.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Do join us again tomorrow when we'll bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm, and YouTube channel. And while you are online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through the mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.